What is up, guys? Zan and Ancap here from Playbook.gg, and in this video we're going to show you how Ibestrafin used a mental break opportunity to reset his mind and claim $1,000 in our Friday Night Football final last week. Before we dive into this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the great tutorials that we've got headed your way here on the Playbook.gg YouTube channel. So welcome back to another Friday film room here with Ancap and Zan. In this video, we're looking at our $1,000 final between Ibestrafin and Fancy. Now, this was a matchup that was a real chess match up until this point, and unfortunately, there was a desync. And I'm happy to have Ancap alongside me here to do a little live back and forth here. So we're trying something a little bit different from last week. Ancap, what's going on, man?
I'm doing great, thanks, Sam. Just watching a little bit of our Friday Night Football recap here, watching the final game and kind of breaking it down with you.
So this was a matchup that I was commentating with Bugs, and right now we're watching up to a point that I think was really important in this ball game. This was probably the turning point as we're seeing a big 3rd down and 16 coming up here with Fancy being on defense. And I think that what we saw here is potentially the start of maybe rage mode for Ibestrafin. What did you see?
Yeah, absolutely. Ibestrafin went ahead and kind of had a little bit of the control of the game in the first half. Was up 9-3. He came out and threw an interception on the first play. As you can see here on this play that we just showed, his second possession, he went ahead and got a hit stick fumble from Jamal Adams. So he's had 2 consecutive drives that end with Fancy getting the ball, and it really definitely changed the momentum of the game, as you can see.
So I think right here, after this fumble, that he basically gave away a chance to take a lead for $1,000. You're going to see him try to dial up a little bit of a blitz, nothing too aggressive, but you can see that his technique was a little sloppy right here.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, he clicked onto that strong safety over there, and he took the wrong angle at the wide receiver. And I think a lot of times this happens when you give up a big play. In this instance, he got the hit stick fumble against him. You really don't dial in mentally sometimes. It usually takes a little bit of a opportunity to get yourself focused on it. And you can see just that little bit of a lapse ended up giving him the opportunity to kind of give that big play up to Fancy.
So that big strike down the sideline to Randy Moss goes ahead and puts up Fancy by 8 with 1:45 in the third. This obviously is the second half here. Now, this tournament structure is $1,000 winner take all, 32-man bracket. We play these every Friday night on twitch.tv/MuttHeadTV, so make sure you guys join us there for those broadcasts. Grubhub is a fantastic sponsor, as you can see there. You guys can use the code TOUCHDOWN for $10 off your first order of 15 or more. So make sure you guys are joining us Friday nights. And boom, this is the moment right here that sets everyone off. So we have a desync. So now we're taking a look here at the players coming back from break. Obviously, desyncs are a very disruptive thing in competitive Madden. When you play an online weekend league game or a Mutt head-to-head game and you desync, your game is just over. But with $1,000 on the line, this is an opportunity for these two players to really collect their thoughts. And I think Ibestrafin definitely needed it more than Fancy.
Absolutely. You're coming off of 2 turnovers. So you're a game that you had control of in the first half really kind of makes you kind of reevaluate what you were doing wrong. Gives you the opportunity. As you can see, when they came back, they had an agreement that it was going to be an 8-0 game, where that was the score difference when it came at the desync. And you can see that Ibestrafin comes out firing and knowing that he's got to get some quick scores here.
So yeah, so we have the 8-0 score on the scoreboard, but that is the exact same point differential as the 17-9 ball game. And I think you brought up a really good point that these players decided to just play the first half, and so they're going to go ahead and play the second quarter as if it's the fourth quarter. In fact, our tech guy is going to go ahead and update the scoreboard here with the fourth quarter over the second here in a short minute. But this is a big 4th down and 4 right here for Ibestrafin.
Absolutely. He did a nice route combination where he was going to attack the outside to the left side of the field with a corner route with an underneath route, and Fancy did a great job of taking both those away. He did take his running back on a streak route, and what he did is he led him in, and Dalvin Cook really did a great job of kind of saving him on that drive. Sometimes, players make the plays. He put it in the position where he can catch it, but definitely was, something that was in traffic there.
And then right here, of course, the Strafen special, Tyreek Hill on the playmaker directly up the field. He used that Tyreek Hill underneath on shallow crosses the entire tournament long. And I would say the majority of the scores came off of that style of a playmaker directly up the field.
Absolutely. What I saw in that play, which was nice, he actually went to the Pat's Y off trips play scat, and he set up a nice cloud flat beater to the right-hand side where he knew he was be able to get the running back. And it kind of gave him two options on that play. And what he was able to see was when that wasn't open, that he went straight to the in route and playmakered him up, as you saw that he did all tournament long. Really puts a little bit of a strain on that user player.
So you see coming out of the desync reset, Strafen clicking on all cylinders, marches right down the field, gets his touchdown, and then goes to the mid-draw for the 2-point conversion to tie this ball game up. And there's still a long way to go. This is 4 minutes and 14 seconds away from somebody getting $1,000. Now, I think this is a good point to talk about just because EA has put in a little bit of work via patch this week to kind of curb some of those desyncs. So hopefully we won't see these going forward. But it's worth mentioning that Strafen actually won the Friday Night Football final a few weeks back against Joe Rice in a similar situation where he was able to really kind of regroup after a desync. And I think you see right here a very similar thing. He might have snuck on aggressive. He might have gotten away with really coming out of that break and using Fancy and the frustration of having a desync against him.
Absolutely. I remember that Joe Rice game very well. It was a shootout, and Strafen was able to come back in that game just the way he did in here, where giving that little bit of a break just kind of made him give that opportunity to recollect his thoughts and, say, what can I do better? What was I getting beat on? Do I need to get more aggressive? And you can see that those adjustments is what made him ultimately, put a little bit more pressure on Fancy.
You see right here, good collapse of the pocket, but Fancy steps up well with Vic, but stays on his feet just a little bit too long, and it's just kind of a role reversal right there. You see Fancy now doing some things that maybe out of frustration, maybe out of stubbornness, after something bad happens. Very similar to what happened to Strafen at the top of this video. You see Strafen throw a ball over the middle, he fumbles, and then he kind of gets sloppy with his technique by missing the hit stick. You see Strafen kind of was the benefactor of Fancy doing something similar right there with Vic.
Yeah, absolutely. And Madden becomes a momentum game a lot, and you can see that there was a lot of swings in this game, and the desync really helped Strafen regain the momentum. He had it all in the first half, and then Fancy came storming back, and it did not look good for Strafen until that desynced. And whether that was what really determined the tide swinging on him, but you can see he comes out aggressive. He's got all the confidence in the world, and he's really looking to take more than just a field goal lead here as he's getting aggressive trying to score.
So quickly back into the red zone here for Strafe. He's got 2nd down and 1, and he's going to rely heavily on this Dalvin Cook. And I think that he made a nice play with his salary cap roster. I see a lot of guys will typically spend big on their running backs in salary cap, but with the most recent title update, the fall forward patch, as we're calling it in the competitive community, you don't need that big money back to fall forward. It seems like everybody's falling forward, and you're seeing the production he's getting from that Dalvin Cook.
Absolutely. That Dalvin Cook is probably one of the best salary cap options right now. It's 44 cap. I do believe it's a little bit of a mistake because his team of the week is also 44 cap, so they didn't go ahead and update it. I do want to talk about this play real quick. He had a play set up that he knew that the tight end was going to get underneath over there, underneath the curl route. He gave up on it too quickly. He did not trust his instincts that player was going to be there. He basically backed out of it, and it kind of cost him here on that play. Something that is a little bit uncharacteristic of Strafen, but obviously put him in a bad situation.
Right there, an unfortunate missed throw there from Michael Vick. Arm side, Dalvin Cook on the wheel route down the sideline. Just a missed throw on the run, something that happens a little bit more frequently in Madden. Wasn't the most recent title update that caused that. I think it was 2 title updates ago. Players still getting used to throwing the ball while running laterally or away from the line of scrimmage. Severe accuracy penalties cost him a touchdown right there. Now he's going to go empty. Do you like this route combination at all?
I absolutely do, because you're going to see he's going to score here. But the reason why it was so well is that he's been doing that in route a lot and playmakering him up. So as a user, even though he really did not want to cover that in, and it made no sense to at 3rd and 15, the fact that he had to attack the user in the middle of the field with 2 players, it was either he was going to take the seam, and as soon as he got Fancy to basically hesitate on, is he going to take that in route and playmaker him up? He just used that one little bit of hesitation. He threw it to that seam route to make it work. Now, the route combination itself may not have been the most elaborate, that out there, but because of what he did prior in the game, was able to set that up, because what he did all tournament long was that in route, playmaker it up. It really stuck in Fancy's mind. That gave him that little bit of hesitation and ultimately gave up the touchdown because of it.
So now we're seeing Ibestrafin on full momentum, and here comes the pass rush. This reminds me a lot of that Joe Rice final where after the desync, his pass rush was just on another level. I don't know if it was because Fancy wasn't checking for aggressive, just not something that was on his mind. But we've seen Ibestrafin now with 15 unanswered points in the last 2 minutes. And Fancy, it's really snowballing on him. And personally, I don't think that this was something that, it's not Fancy's fault. Obviously, it's very, very frustrating to have to come back and recreate a scenario because you're in that mindset. You've got your opponent, lost for, thought to counter what you're doing. And that little 10 to 15 minute break that we saw just went ahead and flipped the script. And I think that is not necessarily a bad thing for Fancy. I think that as a young and up and coming player, this is something that you have to learn over time. Whereas Ibestrafin, the veteran, has been there, done that a couple times. And that's not necessarily to say that Fancy won't acquire those skills. It's just something that a lot of players aren't used to until they've had it happen to them for the first time for big money on the line.
Absolutely. And the difference between what I'm seeing here with Ibestrafin is that first half, there was kind of a feel out period. They played a really slow game. There was no touchdowns. It was 9-3 after the first half. Once he kind of gave up some of those big plays as far as the turnovers to Fancy, that's when the desync happened. He was able to come back and say, you know what, I need to get aggressive on defense. And you're going to see here that, there are times that it kind of got to Fancy early. And that's really now he's making him work for everything. I don't know if it's to the point where, when you send pressure, sometimes you question your reads a little bit more. You're trying to find that open player. And Ibestrafin has really got that opportunity right now to kind of depict that he can stay aggressive. Yes, he's only up by 7, but definitely gives him that opportunity to, play his style of defense where he may not have done as much of an aggressive approach earlier in the game.
I think what makes coming back against the 3-3-5 so hard is that with the same look, you can set up a really vicious cross-man coverage with a 3-man rush, or, a 6 or 7-man pressure that gets instant pressure like you see right here. With zones underneath, and it really is hard to decipher what your opponent wants to do. And now we're seeing that Ibestrafin is just kind of bouncing back and forth. He's sending, sometimes he sends the right 2 linebackers, sometimes he sends just the outside linebackers, sometimes he sends 1 nickel, 1 outside backer. He's really confusing Fancy right here when Fancy needs to be in the 2-minute drill. And you see that Fancy is just content taking these underneath routes. And even though it's a 7-point ball game, I think Ibestrafin is okay with this because you're going to kind of see all that mix and match of this style defense really come into fruition here over the next few plays.
Absolutely. Ibestrafin is definitely content allowing him to take those dink and dunk type style throws because, as you can see here, another one that he did, he's only going to have 39 seconds here with 1 timeout to go those 35 extra yards. So, Fancy's really got to step up and say, you know what, I got to go a little bit more vertical here in order to get in the end zone in the time frame or attack the sidelines, depending on which he's got to do. You saw that we had great success getting the sidelines on one of his last touchdowns. Let's see how he takes this approach as he finishes the game here.
Big time pressure up the middle, and I mean that's exactly what we're talking about. That's Alan Page coming through as the nose tackle. I mean, you'll take that any chance you get it. Almost some shades of that Pavon game, the very beginning of that Pavon game that Ibestrafin had in that finals in the last MCS event, to get production from your nose tackle right there. Most importantly, makes him burn his last time out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're looking at 35 seconds, and he's playing a cover 2 shell. And he's not allowing anything to the outside. As you can see, that was what his primary coverage was. Let me take him and make him stay inside the field so that clock keeps on running. Fancy has a nice dot there, but unfortunately, it takes another 15, 20 seconds off the clock, and it really forces him to now go for the end zone in order to, basically preserve his clock, right where Ibestrafin wants him as far as knowing how he needs to attack the field.
So right here, I'm a little bit intrigued by this decision for Strafin. I don't know. I'm not... Okay, so right here you see him kind of bouncing back and forth. Looked like he wanted to go with the quarters 3 deep. I think maybe he decided against that here. And I think that this call right here is very safe. Cover 4 drop. Not necessarily a match zone right here.
Absolutely. He goes ahead, and you can see he does the drop coverage, and you can see what he did with his user. His primary spot was, I know I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable underneath the safeties in the middle of the field, and that's where he went and dropped with it. He did come back with a little bit of, you can see in this last call before the game ended, he was going to go the same thing, just backed everybody up in a 3 deep look. But ultimately, he was able to slow down Fancy down the field, making it very difficult for him to complete that drive at the end of the game.
So a great mix of coverage and blitz looks there by Strafin ends up securing him the $1,000 final, his second championship in 6 weeks. You see right there myself and Boogs commentating, talking. I'm actually remote casting from this one. I'm usually live there in the studio, guys. We really encourage you to come out and support Friday Night Football presented by Mutthead. Of course, Grubhub is a fantastic sponsor. I'll go ahead and plug them here as well. Make sure you guys are using that code touchdown for $10 off your first order of $15 or more. We're going to be running 6 more of these events. They're going to occur basically every single Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 7 Central. And the only exception is the week of the next MCS tournament. So the week of the 15th, we will not have our Friday Night Football. But we really hope to see you guys out there. And Cap, it's really great to be able to sit down with you and kind of do this chalk talk and talk about what goes through the minds of these great players.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something that we are definitely excited to do each week. We come back and kind of give a little bit of a highlights of what was something that stood out to us. Kind of, the last 2 have really been looking at the finals game. But as you guys watch these tournaments, if you guys see something or want to, get a little bit more insight on, definitely reach out to us. You can definitely leave a comment in these videos and just say, what, I saw this is what J-Wall was doing. Can you guys help me understand that? It gives us a little bit more ability to kind of connect with you guys and do these videos to help the community.
So yes, guys, if you guys like this video series, these Friday football breakdowns, make sure you guys let us know. Drop a like in the comment section, drop some comments below. Let us know what you guys want to see from Friday Night Football next week. See if we can maybe break that down for you. And we'll continue this series next week. So until next week, guys, this is Zan for AntCap. Get in the lab and good luck.
Now, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure you check out these videos below for the most helpful Madden tips. If you're looking to learn from the best players in the world, head over to www.playbook.gg for the most detailed game plans in Madden.